Caught stepdad stealing my wedding dress for his daughter. Grabbed it and he kicked me out of the house. Growing up, it was just my mom and me, a tight-knit team facing the world together after my dad passed away shortly after I was born. His death left us not only emotionally shattered, but also financially strained. Despite the hardships, one item my mom never considered parting with was her wedding dress, a beautiful, handmade gown that my dad had specially designed for her. It wasn't just fabric and lace to us, it was a symbol of my dad's love and a connection to the life they shared before I came along. Fast forward to the present, and things have shifted quite a bit since my mom remarried Brad. Brad has two kids, Tessa, 26, and Jake, 18. We've managed to get along reasonably well, though it's been a bit of a balancing act trying to blend our families. Tessa recently got engaged, and while her upcoming wedding should be a cause for celebration, it's actually stirred up a lot of underlying tensions. When Tessa mentioned wanting to wear my mom's cherished wedding dress, I was taken aback. She knew how much that dress meant to me and my mom, yet she still brought it up. My mom initially resisted because she's always said that dress was being saved for me. It represents a promise, a connection to my dad, and a dream of mine to wear at my own wedding one day. However, Brad seemed to think it was a simple matter of practicality, suggesting my mom now had two dresses, and I could just wear her other one. His suggestion to let Tessa wear the original dress, completely disregarding its sentimental value to me, felt like a dismissal of my feelings and my dad's memory. The situation escalated when Brad physically took the dress out of storage and handed it to Tessa right in front of me. My reaction was instinctual. I grabbed the dress from Tessa and locked myself in my room with it. This dress is a piece of my history, a connection to the father I never got to know, and I couldn't bear the thought of it being altered and worn by someone else, especially under these circumstances. The aftermath has been pretty intense. My mom seems torn, trying to mediate but also understanding why the dress is so important to me. Brad, on the other hand, has been calling me spoiled and selfish, accusing me of overreacting. Tessa is upset too, feeling like her wedding plans are being disrupted. She's been texting me to apologize and return the dress, but I feel so betrayed and hurt by the whole situation. Now I'm left feeling like the villain in my own home, criticized for standing up for something that holds deep emotional significance. I think I need to have a serious conversation with my mom, just the two of us, to explain how important this dress is to me, not just as a potential wedding dress, but as one of the few connections I have to my dad. This discussion needs to be away from Brad's influence, so that I can express my feelings honestly and clearly without external pressure. Moreover, it's crucial to establish some boundaries and communication rules with Brad and Tessa about decisions that impact me directly. They need to understand that their words and actions have significant emotional consequences, and respect in our family dynamics is essential. Perhaps seeking external support, like a family therapist, might help. A neutral setting could provide a space for all of us to express our viewpoints and work through our misunderstandings, hopefully leading to better understanding and respect among us. Navigating this will undoubtedly be difficult, but I believe it's crucial to defend the things that are deeply meaningful to me. My connection to my dad's memory through this dress is irreplaceable, and standing my ground here is about preserving that bond as much as it is about setting the tone for how I expect to be treated in my family going forward. So am I not the idiot? Now for the top comments before the update. You should not apologize at all. You did nothing wrong. Your mom has told you for years that the dress is for you to wear when you get married. Your mom or a different dress once she married Brad so his daughter can wear that one. So why does it have to be your dress she wants to wear? And honestly, if I were your mom, I would be considering a divorce. Your mother's new husband is a bully, and his adult daughter is the spoiled, selfish brat in this story to Tessa. It's just a pretty dress that she wants. And as far as Brad is concerned, Tessa should have what she wants, regardless of what his wife, the owner of the dress, prefers. No stepbrother has seen this happen many times in the past, hence his supporting you. The fact the brand is steamrolling your mom into something she really doesn't want to do is a very bad sign. Tessa is asking me to apologize and give her the dress back, while there's no giving it back. It was never hers. Brad took it over your mom's objections, and you reclaimed it before anyone could get the idea that it was okay. Brad owes you and your mom big-time apologies, and Tessa can go pounce and sneak the dress out to someone you can trust to hold on to it for you. Your mom needs to take the lead here and tell them no. Update 1. After the initial argument about the wedding dress, Brad and Tessa decided to double down on their stance in a way that totally blew my mind, in the worst way. It started with Brad deciding that since my mom had remarried him, everything she owned, including the dress, was now family property, and Tessa, as part of this family, had every right to wear it. His logic was that keeping the dress just for me was unfair to Tessa, who didn't have a special dress in her life. Tessa, feeling emboldened by Brad's support, took it a step further. She went on this rant about how I was being selfish and childish for wanting to keep the dress to myself. She said that since I was still single and not even close to getting married, the dress was just sitting there collecting dust, and it would be more practical for her to use it now. She even hinted that I might never get a chance to wear it, which was a low blow. The tipping point came when Brad, without asking anyone, took the dress from where my mom had stored it and handed it directly to Tessa, right in front of me. He said it was time to stop living in the past and make practical decisions for the family's sake. I couldn't believe it. The audacity! Reacting on pure instinct, I grabbed the dress from Tessa and locked myself in my room with it. This dress isn't just fabric. It's my connection to my dad, a man I never got to know. To see it treated like just another piece of clothing that could be handed around was too much. The fallout was explosive. Brad pounded on my door, calling me spoiled and accusing me of tearing the family apart over a piece of old cloth. My mom tried to mediate, but she was torn up over seeing her family like this. She kept saying we needed to talk things out calmly, but calm was off the table by then. Tessa was crying and playing the victim, telling everyone who would listen that I was ruining her wedding. She's been texting me nonstop, trying to guilt trip me into giving up the dress, saying I don't understand what it's like to want a perfect wedding, as if I don't have feelings too. Now the atmosphere at home is downright toxic. Brad's treating me like I'm the enemy, and Tessa is acting like she's the only one who matters. I feel like I'm being ganged up on, all for wanting to preserve something precious from my past. I'm starting to think that this isn't just about the dress anymore. It's about respect and understanding, or the total lack of it. I need to have a serious one-on-one with my mom about all this. We need to figure out how we can live with Brad and Tessa if they're going to be this entitled and insensitive about things that are important to me. Maybe it's time to bring in some outside help, like a family therapist, because this situation is way beyond what we can handle on our own. I'm standing my ground, not just for the dress, but for what it represents. Respect, memories, and my dad's legacy. No way am I letting that go without a fight. Update 2. So after all the chaos with the wedding dress, things took an even crazier turn. Brad finally lost his patience with me because I still refused to hand over the dress to Tessa. His last words were, "If you can't follow the rules of this house, you need to find another place to stay." So he kicked me out. Just like that, I was out with my stuff and nowhere to go. Feeling totally lost and shaken up, I headed to the only place I felt I could go, my grandpa's house. When I showed up at Grandpa's doorstep with all my stuff, he was surprised but super welcoming. He helped me bring in my bags, and then we sat down, and I just spilled everything about the dress, Brad, Tessa, and how everything just exploded. Grandpa listened to it all without interrupting, which was exactly what I needed. After I finished, Grandpa was quiet for a bit, and then he said he had something really important to tell me, something about my dad. Turns out my dad wrote a will before he passed away. And get this, he left the house to me. Yeah, the very house Brad just kicked me out of. According to the will, it was supposed to be mine when I turned 18. I was totally blown away. I mean, how could something that big have never come up? Grandpa explained that my dad really wanted to make sure I was taken care of, that I had something solid to my name in case things got tough. But somehow, after my mom married Brad, this huge detail got brushed under the rug. Why didn't my mom ever mention this? I had no idea, and it made me feel a mix of angry and sad. So, with this bombshell news, Grandpa and I started making plans. We spent a lot of time talking about what to do next. It felt like a detective movie, piecing together clues from old papers and figuring out our next move. Grandpa suggested we talk to a lawyer to see exactly how we could go about claiming the house. Turns out, we have a pretty strong case, and if everything goes right, I might be able to get the house back in my name. Living with Grandpa these past few days has been a game changer. It's quiet here, away from all the drama. It's given me space to think and sort out my feelings. Every morning, we sit and have breakfast together, and he tells me stories about my dad, stuff I never knew. It's like I'm reconnecting with my dad in a way I didn't think was possible anymore. But it's not all just chilling and chatting. We're actually getting pretty busy, meeting with lawyers and sorting through all the legal stuff. It's a bit overwhelming, but Grandpa is a rock, helping me through it all. And through it all, I keep thinking about that dress, the one that started all this. It's more than just fabric now. It's a symbol of everything I'm fighting for. My dad's memory, my rights, and my future. Who knew a wedding dress could mean so much? So yeah, that's the update from here. From getting kicked out to discovering I might own a house, it's been a wild ride. There's a lot of tough stuff ahead, but I've got Grandpa on my side, and I'm feeling ready to take on whatever comes next. Here's to hoping for some justice and maybe a bit of peace soon. Update 3. Remember how Grandpa and I were all set to fight for the house that my dad left me in his will? Well, during our first major sit-down with the lawyer, he drops this absolute bomb on us. There's a second, more recent will that no one told us about. Yeah, a second will. So we're sitting there, me and Grandpa totally stunned. The second will wasn't just a little update or something minor. Nope, it was packed with huge news and strict instructions that totally changed the game. First off, it reconfirmed that I was supposed to get the house when I turned 18, just like the first will said. But that's not all. This will also talked about some investments and a pretty hefty sum of money that my dad had tucked away for me to help with college or whatever I needed to start my adult life right. And here's the kicker. None of this was ever mentioned to me by anyone. Not Mom, definitely not Brad. But here's the really wild part. The will had a special clause. It said that if I wasn't told about this will by my 18th birthday, there would be serious consequences for whoever kept it from me. It was like my dad knew something might go wrong and he was setting up a safety net from beyond the grave. It's weird thinking he was protecting me like that, even when he couldn't be here. The moment we found out about all this, our lawyer kicked into high gear. He started pushing the case forward, aiming to not just get the house back, but also claim all the other stuff my dad intended for me. You can imagine how quickly things started to heat up. Mom was totally shell-shocked when she found out about the second will. She looked like she had seen a ghost when the lawyer explained everything to her. She kept saying over and over that she had no idea there was another will. Brad, though, he didn't have the same shock. Instead, he got all defensive, like he was ready to battle it out, which just made everything between us even colder. Just when I thought that was enough drama for a lifetime, Tessa threw another curveball into the mix. After laying low through most of this, she suddenly blew up at Brad during a family meeting that was supposed to be about finding a peaceful solution. She accused him of manipulating everyone, especially Mom, and trying to control things that weren't his to control. It was like watching a scene from a soap opera, screaming, crying, the whole 9 yards. Now, with all these accusations and secrets coming out, I'm left trying to sort through a massive pile of questions. Who really knew about the will? Why was it kept from me? It's a lot to handle, and honestly, some days it feels totally overwhelming. But knowing that I'm fighting for what my dad wanted for me gives me the strength to keep going. Living with Grandpa has been my safe space through all this craziness. Every evening, we sit down and just talk about everything, what our next steps should be, how to handle the family drama, and sometimes just remembering things about my dad. It helps a lot having him here with me. This whole ordeal has turned into way more than just a battle over a house or a dress. It's about fighting for justice for my dad's last wishes and maybe getting some answers about what's been going on behind my back in my own family for years. So yeah, that's where things are at. This roller coaster seems like it's far from over, and honestly, I'm bracing myself for more twists and turns. Who knows what's going to happen next? Stay tuned, because it looks like this story is only going to get crazier from here. Update 4. So I was sitting down with our lawyer, going through some of the piles of paperwork about my dad's assets. Yeah, the same ones he left for me that no one told me about. We're talking investments, savings, all that stuff. And there, mixed in with all the boring bank statements, I noticed something super weird. There were a bunch of payments made to this company known for planning over-the-top fancy events. Curious, I did a little digging. Guess what? That company was the very one organizing Tessa's upcoming super expensive wedding. And here's the kicker. The money paying for all that? It was coming from my inheritance. Yep, my money was secretly funding Tessa's dream wedding. No one asked me. No one even hinted that they were using my funds. I was beyond mad. I felt like someone had punched me in the stomach. After everything, the sneaking around with the dress and all the family tension, now there was this. My money, which was supposed to be for my future, was being spent on Tessa's wedding without my permission. I had to get some answers, and I knew exactly where to start. Mom. I found Mom in the kitchen, and I didn't waste any time. Here's how our conversation went down. Me. Mom, why is Tessa's wedding planner getting paid with money from my inheritance? Mom. Clearly caught off guard, fumbling a bit with her words. Oh well, we thought it would be a good way to manage the funds. Me. Manage the funds? Really, Mom? By spending my money without telling me? Mom. It was supposed to be a surprise. We thought it would help bring the family together, make something beautiful out of what your father left. Me. A surprise? Using my inheritance for Tessa's wedding is not a beautiful surprise. Mom, it's a betrayal. How could you decide to do this without even talking to me? Mom. I know it seems bad now, but we were going to tell you eventually. We thought once you saw how happy it made everyone, especially Tessa, you'd understand. Me. Understand? How am I supposed to understand you using my inheritance behind my back? It's not just about the money, Mom. It's about trust. And right now, I feel like I can't trust you at all. Mom. I'm really sorry. We just got carried away with the wedding planning. I thought since you and Tessa were getting along better, you'd be okay with it. Me. Getting along doesn't mean you can use what Dad left for me to pay for her wedding. It was supposed to be for my future, Mom, not Tessa's wedding. Mom, you're right, and I'm so sorry. We just wanted to do something nice for Tessa, and somehow we thought this would be okay. Please, let's try to fix this together. The conversation didn't really get much better from there. Mom kept trying to smooth things over, but I was just too hurt. It felt like such a deep cut, knowing she'd gone behind my back like this. It's one thing to have issues with Brad and even Tessa, but feeling betrayed by my own mom? That's a whole new level of hurt. Now I've got to figure out not just how to handle the legal stuff with the house and the inheritance, but also how to deal with my relationship with my mom. It's like every layer of this situation just reveals more mess underneath. I'm trying to keep my head up and sort through this, but it's tough. Every conversation feels like a minefield, and every decision feels super heavy. But I'm not backing down. I'm going to make sure everyone knows that my inheritance isn't their free-for-all fund, and I'm going to set boundaries that should have been there from the start. So that's the latest. Just when you think you're getting to the end of the drama, there's a whole new twist waiting for you. Stay tuned, because honestly, at this point, anything could happen. Update 5. After discovering all the sneaky stuff with my inheritance being used for Tessa's wedding, I hit my limit. I mean, enough is enough, right? So I decided it was time to take some serious action and get my house and life back under control. First things first, I sat down with our lawyer to make sure everything was crystal clear legally, that the house was mine, as per my dad's last will. Armed with this information, I had a big family meeting at the house. I told Brad, Tessa, and Jake that they had 2 weeks to find a new place to live. Yeah, I actually told them they needed to move out. It felt weird, kind of tough, but also necessary. When I dropped this bombshell, you can imagine, the house turned into a storm of shouting and arguing. Mom was really upset with me. She couldn't believe I was kicking out Brad and his kids. She kept saying things like, "How can you do this? They're family, and this isn't what your father would have wanted." But with everything going on, it just felt like they hadn't been acting much like family at all. Here's a bit more about how that intense conversation with my mom went. Me. Mom, I've given Brad, Tessa, and Jake 2 weeks to move out. This is my house, legally left to me, and I need to start taking control of it. Mom. But they're your family, how can you just throw them out? Me. It's not about throwing them out, Mom. It's about setting things right. They've been living here, and Brad's been managing my money without my consent, using it to pay for Tessa's wedding. That's not right. Mom. But kicking them out? Isn't that a bit harsh? Me. Maybe it seems harsh, Mom, but I've got to start making some tough decisions. I've been pushed around and taken advantage of, and it has to stop. Mom. I just can't believe this is happening. Brad has done so much for us. Me. I know you think Brad's been helping, but he hasn't been honest. I need to do this, Mom, and I need you to understand why. Mom, I just wish there was another way to handle this. Me. I've thought about it a lot, and this is the only way I see to make things right. From now on, Grandpa will help manage my money. He's the only one I trust right now. After that conversation, things were pretty tense around the house. Mom was quiet, and Brad, well, he was pretty mad. Tessa and Jake didn't say much, but I could tell they were shocked. It was a tough couple of weeks watching them pack up and find another place, but it also felt like I was finally taking back control of my life and my home. Now the house is quieter, and honestly it feels more like mine than it ever did before. It's strange but also kind of peaceful. I've been spending a lot of time with Grandpa, planning how to manage the finances and make sure nothing like this ever happens again. He's been great, teaching me a lot about handling money and making smart decisions. This whole ordeal has been really tough. It's not easy making decisions that upset people, especially your own family, but sometimes you've got to stand up for what's right and what's yours. I'm learning that it's okay to put my foot down and say, enough is enough. So that's where things are now. A lot of changes, some really big decisions, and a new chapter starting for me. I'm hoping that with some peace and quiet, and with Grandpa's help, I can start to heal from all this drama, and maybe even rebuild some bridges if it's possible. Thanks for sticking with me through all this craziness. I'm not sure what's next, but I'm ready to face it with a clearer head and a stronger sense of who I am and what I stand for. Let's see what the future holds. Update 6. After all the drama with the house and finding out my inheritance was secretly funding Tessa's wedding, I knew something big had to be done. It wasn't just about the money. It was about standing up for myself and making sure everyone knew I wasn't someone they could just push around. So, after the dust settled a bit with Brad, Tessa, and Jake moving out, there was still the big issue of the chunk of my inheritance that got drained for Tessa's wedding expenses. Yeah, the fancy catering, the posh venue, you name it, my inheritance was covering it. Not cool, right? I decided it was time to put my foot down. I wasn't going to let this slide. So, I set up a time to talk to Brad face to face. I needed him to know I was serious, and this wasn't just going to be another conversation that ended with me feeling bulldozed. Here's how it went down. Me. Brad, we need to talk about the money you used from my inheritance for Tessa's wedding. That was my money, left to me by my dad, and you had no right to use it without asking. Brad, look, I know you're upset, but we were just trying to pull off a great wedding for Tessa. We didn't mean to upset you. Me. It's not just about being upset, Brad. It's about what's right and what's wrong. That money was mine, and using it without my permission? That's not just wrong. It's betrayal. Brad, I get that now, and I'm sorry it came to this. We should have handled it differently. Me. Sorry doesn't fix it, Brad. I need that money returned. I gave you a lot of trust, and it was broken. Now I need to set things right. Brad. What are you asking? Me. I want the full amount used for the wedding returned to me. I'll give you 1 week to sort this out, or I'll have to take legal steps. I don't want to do that, but I will if I have to. Brad. That's fair, give me a week. I'll make sure you get your money back. To be honest, I half expected him to make excuses or drag his feet, but something in my tone must have made it clear I wasn't messing around this time. And guess what? He actually did it. Brad returned every single penny that was taken from my inheritance for the wedding, all within the week. I was kind of shocked, but also really relieved. It felt like a huge victory, not just for my bank account, but for my spirit too. Getting that money back, it was like I could finally breathe a sigh of relief. It was a confirmation that I did the right thing by standing up for myself. And it taught me a valuable lesson about boundaries and not letting anyone, not even family, walk all over them. Since then, I've been working closely with Grandpa to get all my finances in order. He's been a total rock star, helping me understand how to manage my money, invest wisely, and plan for the future. We're setting up some robust financial plans, and I'm learning a ton. It's pretty cool, actually, to feel so empowered about my financial situation. The house is quieter now, sure, but it feels more like a home than ever before. I've been spending my evenings just chilling, sometimes reminiscing about the good times with Dad, and thinking about what he would want for me. It's given me a lot of peace and a sense of closure that I really needed. So, that's the big update. Thanks a ton for sticking with me through all the ups and downs. Your support means the world to me, and it's helped me through some pretty rough waters. Here's to hoping things are on the up and up from here on out. Can't wait to see what the future holds, and I'll make sure to keep you all posted. Update 7. Hey everyone! So it feels like we're finally at the end of a super long, twisty roller coaster ride that's been my life these past few months. A lot has happened. A lot. And I think things are starting to settle into what might be the new normal for me. Since my last update, where Brad actually gave back all the money he used for Tessa's wedding, I've had some time to breathe and think about everything. Getting that money back was a huge victory, and it really set the stage for some major healing and figuring out my next steps. First off, the house has been really quiet. Like, the kind of quiet that lets you hear your own thoughts a bit too loudly. But this silence has given me the space I needed to really think through everything that's happened. Not just the big drama with the inheritance and the wedding, but all the little moments and decisions that led up to those events. I've spent a ton of time talking things over with Grandpa. He's been amazing through all of this, like a wise old wizard who always knows just what to say. We talked a lot about money and how to manage it wisely, sure, but we also talked about personal stuff like how important it is to have good boundaries, and how to deal with family stuff when it gets really complicated. Talking about family, things have been, well, complicated. Mom and I have started talking again. It was super awkward at first. Imagine trying to chat casually when there's a giant elephant in the room reminding you of recent fights. But we both know if we want to fix our relationship, we need to have these hard conversations. We've been slowly getting into why things went down the way they did, how we both felt betrayed at times, and what we can do better moving forward. It's not easy. And I'm not sure everything will go back to how it was, but we're trying. That's the important part. As for Brad, he's made a few attempts to apologize, saying he thought he was doing the right thing. I'm still working through those feelings because forgiveness is tough. It's like trying to untangle a super knotted rope. Tessa and I haven't talked much. I think we both need some space from each other to cool off. Jake has been the easiest to talk to. Out of all of them, he seemed to get caught in the crossfire, and he's pretty chill about moving past everything. Now, looking forward, I've got some plans brewing. The house being officially mine is a big deal, and with my finances looking way better, thanks to Grandpa's wizard-like guidance, I'm thinking about what's next. Maybe I'll go back to school, or perhaps start my own business, something that really feels like it's mine and something positive I can build on. I'm also focusing a lot on personal growth. All this drama has taught me a ton about who I am and how strong I can be. It's shown me the importance of standing up for myself and not letting anyone push me around. Yeah, it's been super tough, but I also feel like I've come out stronger on the other side. I can't wrap up this update without saying a massive thank you to all of you. Your comments, messages, and just knowing you were there reading and supporting me have helped me through some really tough times. It's like having a big, invisible team cheering me on, and I can't tell you how much that's meant to me.